curiosity about these eggs.
Oh, yeah.
Let's get started on a few eggs questions. You have a question here?
Cynthia? Go ahead. Okay. I guess my question would be, were the eggs genetically modified?
Were the eggs genetically modified? And what do you mean by that?
Well, clearly, the shell color isn't responsible for the egg white color that we see. So you have, like, essentially normal eggs that have white shells, and then you have the special eggs that also have the white shells, but somehow they're different. So,
okay, so they're
wondering if
different.
Something got changed.
So genetically modified, you mean that they were manipulated by humans, or that this is a natural mutation?
Yeah, manipulated by humans.
Okay. Okay, so that's a question. Another question over here.
What gives the yellowish clear egg white its color?
Okay, what gives, we'll call them normal eggs, normal egg white, their yellow color? So one of the things that we know, color is chemistry. So anytime you see something that's colored, there's something about the chemistry of whatever you're looking at that is interacting with light in a specific way. And if you see a change in color, that's a change in chemistry. That means there's a reaction happening. Or if it's a different color, it means that you're talking about different compounds or different forms of compounds. So another question, how about back here?
Were the ones with the whites, were they fed something different?
Okay. Were the colorless, I'll just call them eggs, or did they come from chickens fed differently? Okay, so your hypothesis would be that whatever's getting in there is something that they're eating in their food, and we didn't feed it to this, and we did feed it to those. Okay? Another question. Audrey, you have a question? Okay, we'll go back here.
What is present or absent?
Excuse me?
What is present or absent in the color?
So what is present or absent? Is that different than the question about what is the yellow color? Or so, well, we can say what is present or absent in the colorless egg whites. How about another question? Yeah, Matt.
Are any of the eggs fertilized?
Okay. Are the eggs so one might say, well, the reason that something happens when an egg is fertilized, and therefore it might have some effect on the color. Any other questions? Other questions? Yeah.
Are the are clear, colorless eggs viable? Or would they be viable if they were fertilized?
It's a good question, because that's where we're headed. So let me tell you a little bit about these eggs. The strain of eggs, or the strain of chickens, excuse me, that lay these eggs was discovered in the early 1950s near Williamsport, Pennsylvania. You know where Williamsport is? Anybody? Where's Williamsport?
It's North Central PA, kind of middle of nowhere.
In the middle of nowhere, yeah. Well, it's North Central PA along the Susquehanna River, the western end of the Susquehanna River. So there's a farmer in that area that had pedigree chickens. So when you know you have pedigree chickens, you know what their ancestry is. And in his flock, he had 3 hens that laid eggs like these. They were colorless. The egg whites were colorless, that is. And what happened was that he noticed that those hens laid eggs that didn't hatch. All the other hens laid eggs that hatched. And so, from a point of view of a pedigree chicken farmer, that sounds like chicken soup to me. You want to just take those chickens and cook them up and get rid of them. But what he did was something different. He took those chickens to Penn State University, which is probably about 70 or 80 miles away, and went to the poultry science department and said, hey, look, you know, I got these chickens, they lay these eggs, they have colorless egg whites, but they also don't hatch. The eggs don't hatch. Do you want these chickens? Otherwise, I'm going to get rid of them. And so he gave them to a Professor Ma in the poultry science department there, about 1953, I believe it was. And from that time on, there were probably about 20 papers, publications, on these chickens and these particular eggs. Now, based on what I've said, are there any other questions that have come to your mind? Matt?
If the eggs don't hatch, how did they perpetuate the strain to present day when we got these eggs?
Okay, good question. How is it that we have this strain of chickens, what is that, 60 years later? How long do chickens live? A couple of years, obviously, not 60 years. So we don't have the same chickens that were there. So there must have been some way to have perpetuated those eggs. Does anybody have any ideas about how you would perpetuate those eggs, the strain of chickens? It's a good research question. In other words, if you're going to study these chickens for more than a year or two, you got to have some way of perpetuating them. So what would you do to get them to survive?
I mean, I'm not sure if this would exactly perpetuate them, but is it possible that it could be some sort of hybrid disease, and that way a chicken that ended up getting the kind of having the hybrid would still continue to live, but anyone that kind of got the recessive trait would...
That means you could infect other chickens with a disease, perhaps.
Right. If it were
Now think about what you see right here. I mean, what do you see here? What color is this?
Yellowish.
This one's not.
Right.
These don't hatch. These do hatch. So what would that imply?
So those chickens have something that they need to be able to hatch.
And these chickens
don't.
don't. And what do you know about that something?
It's yellow.
It's yellow, okay. So what could it be? What kinds of things do you need to grow and live and hatch on if you're a chicken? What are the kind of things that would be in this chicken egg, you know, that so that we don't have to add anything for it to hatch? What kinds of things?
Proteins.
Well, proteins, lots of proteins in there. You eat eggs for protein. What else is in there?
Cholesterol.
Cholesterol's in there in the egg yolk. Yeah. What else?
So vitamins.
Vitamins. I mean, what do you need? The same things a chicken. So vitamins, minerals, fats, carbohydrates. All those nutrients have to be there. So if something's missing, so what kind of a substance would that be? A vitamin. Okay. And so how would you get these to hatch? If I wanted these to hatch, what would I do?
Give them the vitamin.
Give them a vitamin. And what color is that vitamin?
Yellow.
Yellow, okay. And I just happen to have drawn the structure of that vitamin here on the board. And this is something that is added to your cereal in the morning. Well, it's added to your cereal before you buy it, but it's in your cereal that you have in the morning if you had breakfast today. And this vitamin is known as, some of you probably recognize it, riboflavin. And it's also known as vitamin B2. Okay. So, the chickens that lay these eggs, the hens that lay these eggs, are incapable of putting riboflavin into their egg. And that was what I was studying in my research.